Goes through a severe depression like that after a bad breakup, you'd usually hope they have a strong safety net to fall back on, right? But when asked about her father, Sandra says, "He's really no use to me."
Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something incredibly raw. We're looking at a deeply human story that exposes the absolutely unforgiving realities of addiction and survival. We're going to unpack a recent interview with a young woman named Sandra, whose life took a drastic, unexpected turn on the streets of Lagos. And this isn't just another story about substances. It's really an exploration of human fragility, the massive weight of the choices we make, and this desperate race against time to reclaim a lost future. So let's get right into Sandra's story.
Okay, let's dive into this, because right off the bat, we're hit with this shocking juxtaposition. On one side, you have a massive achievement, a Bachelor of Science degree in Intelligence and Security Studies from Afe Babalola University. I mean, that represents years of studying, exams, tuition, and a really bright future, right? But then, look at her current reality. She's smoking crack in Mushin, which is one of the toughest neighborhoods in Lagos. It's totally jarring. It completely shatters any preconceived notions we might have about who actually ends up on the streets. Sandra isn't uneducated, she had everything going for her. So how on earth does someone cross that massive gulf from a university degree to a dangerous street corner?
I want you to just let Sandra's own words sink in for a second. It was never in the plan to come to Mushin. I just got stuck. There is such a profound tragedy in those words. Nobody ever wakes up and plans to lose control of their life, you know? You don't map out a future that ends in addiction. Sandra's statement beautifully, but also painfully, illustrates just how quickly and unexpectedly a life can pivot. It wasn't a sudden leap off a cliff. As we're going to see, it was a slow fade. She simply got stuck.
To further break down those stereotypes of what an addict looks like, let's look at the facts of Sandra's background. She's 28 years old, originally from Aniomer State, and when she's asked where home is, she points to two major Nigerian cities, Ibadan, where her mother lives, and Abuja. What this tells us is that she has roots. She has a family structure spread across the country, and she has places she can call home. She's a daughter, a mother, a university graduate. Humanizing Sandra is really step one to actually understanding the mechanics of how the fast life pulls someone in.
Part 1. The Descent into Addiction.
Let's move forward and track exactly how this happened, because it really builds up step by step. Step 1. Post-graduation. Sandra moves to Lagos simply to chill, just to relax after finishing university. Step 2. She meets someone. They end up living together for 4 years, and she gets introduced to this fast lifestyle of smoking and partying. Get this, they would actually commute to Mushin just to buy their smoke and then go back home. Then comes step 3, the catalyst, the breakup. When they separated, Sandra fell into a severe, crippling depression. And finally, step 4, the present. Overwhelmed by that depression and already hooked on the lifestyle, she relocates directly to Mushin. The place she used to just visit to buy drugs literally became the only place she lived.
Now, when someone goes through a severe depression like that after a bad breakup, you'd usually hope they have a strong safety net to fall back on, right? But when asked about her father, Sandra says, "He's really no use to me. That's how it's been since I was a child." This highlights a deeply fractured family support system. Since childhood, she has dealt with an absent paternal figure. So when the going got incredibly tough after her 4-year relationship ended, that underlying emotional foundation just wasn't there to catch her. Her family, at this point, is simply exhausted from trying to talk her out of her addiction.
Part 2. Surviving the Fast Life. So what does her daily hustle actually look like? Well, it relies on some pretty harsh mechanical steps. Step 1. She uses her educated background and her clear speaking skills to help local boys talk to foreign clients on phone calls. Step 2. Because she acts as the guide on these calls, she demands a minimum cut of 5,000 naira. And step 3, before she's even fully paid, she slashes that money out immediately to buy crack. And what if there are no calls that day? She bluntly admits she'll go and hold somebody's neck that she knows, which basically means aggressively begging or demanding cash from acquaintances. Every single day is this agonizing loop of finding cash just to immediately burn it on the pipe.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how Sandra herself interprets this endless loop. She calls it the spirit of addiction. Sandra doesn't just describe her crack use as a bad habit. She literally says it has this spirit. She explains that she will actually manage to go home, to get away from the streets, but then this unseen magnetic force, something inside her head, just tells her she has to come back to Mushin. It is a terrifying way to look at addiction, viewing it as a literal entity holding her hostage, totally overriding her logic and her university education with pure, irresistible compulsion. But here's the thing. Despite this spirit, the real Sandra is still absolutely in there. And this brilliantly illustrates her underlying ambition. She strongly desires to enter rehab. She desperately wants to stop the fast lifestyle. And most interestingly, despite her degree in intelligence and security studies, she doesn't actually want to go into that field at all. She dreams of attending culinary school. She loves watching the Food Network. She's completely inspired by Chef Gordon Ramsay, and she wants to create her own unique recipes. This is such a powerful reminder of her humanity. Beneath the addiction, there's this universal desire for redemption and a genuine creative passion for cooking, just waiting to be unlocked.
Part 3. The Race Against Time.
29. Throughout her interview, Sandra repeatedly brings up the fact that October 1st is her birthday, and she'll be turning 29. At one point, she looks right into the camera and says, "Please don't abandon this project, 'cause fam, there's no time, man." She is absolutely terrified of turning 30 on the streets. The ticking clock motif is so heavy here. She clearly recognizes that her youth is slipping away in the smoke of Mushin, and she feels this overwhelming, desperate anxiety that she is completely running out of time to fix her life.
And that ticking clock brings out an immense amount of guilt, which leads to this direct apology to her mother in Ibadan. She says, "I'll give you my mom's number. I'm really sorry and I love her so much and I know I'm stressing her and I'm her favorite." You can practically feel the heartbreak. She is so deeply aware of the pain she's causing the person who loves her the absolute most. It really showcases a desperate need to make things right before it's completely too late.
And then we hit what is truly the emotional climax of her story. She says, "Abdul Khalid, I'm sorry as hell. I missed your birthday last week." Abdul Khalid is her young son. Addiction hasn't just stolen Sandra's future, it is actively stealing the present moments she should be sharing with her child right now. To look into a camera from a street corner in Mushin and apologize to your son for missing his birthday, that is a level of agony and regret that is just hard for most of us to even comprehend.
Which leaves us with a really painful question to think about. When the clock is ticking, is it ever too late for a second chance? Sandra Owen Dryan is 28 years old. She has a degree, she has a family, she has dreams of culinary school, and she has an addiction that feels like a spirit dragging her back into the dark. Her story really forces us to look at the fragility of our own lives, and honestly, the lives of those we pass by on the street every single day. It's a stark reminder that behind every statistic, there is a ticking clock and a beating heart begging for a way out. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep asking the hard questions, and I'll see you next time.